800-799-SAFE, the National Domestic Violence Hotline. On average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. In 1 year, more than 10 million women and men will experience domestic violence. Welcome to Normalize the Conversation. I'm your host, Francesca Regater, and today I'm joined by a survivor and advocate of domestic violence, Hope Carpenter. Hope has been part of the wellness industry for 13 years, working in spirituality and healing arts, and is now a current master and social work student, studying to become a licensed therapist. Join us as Hope shares her experience with domestic violence, what it looks like, and how she is healing from the trauma. I am so excited for our conversation today, but before we begin, I really just want to check in with you. How are you really?
I am really in the throes of chaos right now because I'm moving in 9 days. I'm moving from California to Montana. So not only is that a big change, but right now I'm in that whirlwind of like half of my things in my home are already packed up or given away. So I'm coming here today in a camping chair, which is not the right height for my table, which I have yet to sell. So it's chaos, but it's beautiful chaos. So I'm just kind of going with those waves. You know how jumping into a wave is better than like turning your back to it or, trying to just withstand it. So I'm trying to jump into the waves of chaos, and embrace it.
I love that. Moving is so stressful and chaotic. There's so much happening all the time. And it's just really, like you said, jumping with the wave and going through it and not allowing yourself to be fighting it. It's so easy to want to fight every small change and not allow yourself to appreciate the journey. So I'm really excited for you.
Thank you. I'm really excited too. I'll be more excited when I'm on the plane and I'm out here and everything is done, but I'm excited for that moment.
It's coming soon enough. Hope, I am really excited to have you share your story with all of us. Would you mind telling us all a little bit more about you?
Yeah, I don't know where to start because there's so many different jumping in points. Let's see. So I first started my journey as a healing arts practitioner about 13 years ago. And I started on this journey because I was having really bad migraines and didn't really kind of know what to do. And one day, unexpectedly, I received a short Reiki session. Reiki is energy healing. And it totally just blew my mind. It was so short, and in such a short little time, I had such a beautiful opening and a healing experience. And I turned to the practitioner right away and I said, "Can you show me how you did that? Can you teach me? I want to be able to do this for other people." Like I just instantly felt this, wanting to step into that role, wanting other people to see, how profound these little shifts can be. So I became a Reiki practitioner and I started teaching yoga. I started teaching meditation and all of that, and became, a full-time yoga teacher, Reiki healer, etc. And then a few years ago, and then in 2013, healing practice, and I also fell in love with social media and, sharing my creative process on there. But kind of the whole time I was, showing up for other people, showing up as, a healing practitioner in the community, showing my face on social media, I was kind of hiding this part of my life, which is that I was going through domestic violence. So my partner of, 8 years, it was not a healthy relationship at all. And end of 2021 is when my daughter and I finally got free. So now us getting to actually move and leave the state and go home is such an incredible change. Like it feels like freedom. I mean, you think of like the freedom to move as like a basic human right, but as a survivor, like a parent, a protective parent, that's pretty rare, like to get permission to do that. So I'm just so excited for this next level and to continue my grad school education. And one of the things that I look forward to most is being able to help other survivors of relationship violence. So that's something that I'm, really passionate about.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I am so excited for your move, even more than I was before. It's so easy to go on social media and show up with that kind of fake smile and perfect life and show the highlight reel. I mean, I've been guilty of doing it. I think almost everyone has, right? It's just so natural to want to do it, to want to portray yourself, to be perfect, and to get to a place where you can share vulnerably your experience and then use that as motivation to want to do the work to help others is beyond incredible. You are so inspiring.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it's definitely been a journey to get to this point now. And one of the things that has helped me the most is EMDR therapy, which is, trauma therapy, eye movement desensitization and processing. And that has just allowed me to access a level of healing that I didn't expect. So I really feel like I, have the capacity and the passion to want to show up and to help people, really just to share with people that, there is hope, there is possibility. There is, light at the end of the tunnel. There is another life, something else is possible for you. Because I think we can get very, stuck in I'm in this really bad situation, and it's really hard to see kind of pathways out of that.
Absolutely. Sometimes when you're in the midst of it, in the throes of it, it's so hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, to know that it can get better, and to see and hear inspiring stories and see other people who've gone through it, and hearing what's helped them, what hasn't helped, really gives people a starting point on what to do, or gives them some spark of hope that makes them want to find a starting point. For you, what was that kind of spark of hope or starting point that helped you get on your journey?
There's been a lot of little moments, and I would say for me, it is a very spiritual experience. I feel like I'm very connected with, family members that have passed away, and, a sense of having, ancestors and guides and all of that sending me signs. So for instance, right before I was going to leave my abuser and get free with my daughter, I was kind of at the end of my rope, feeling hopeless. And I just kind of sent out this prayer to, my guides, my ancestors, all of that, and the whole spirit team said, show me a blue butterfly if it's time to go. If it's safe to go right now, send me a blue butterfly. And I'm not kidding you, I got hundreds of blue butterflies. They just started coming from all angles. And, I told a couple of really close friends, and then they started seeing them everywhere and sending them to me as well. And I told my mom, and then she started seeing them everywhere and sending them to me. So I was just getting barraged by blue butterflies from all angles. And that to me has since just become this sign of hope. Every time I see one, I'm like, okay, I'm on the right track. And that, I know that not everybody kind of has those beliefs, but to me, it kind of gave me the courage that I needed in that moment to do what I needed to do.
Oh, that is so amazing. And I hope more people can relate to that, because that's something that helped me too. It was for me kind of asking my grandfather, my uncle, for a red bird. I don't know why, I just really, really loved seeing red birds, because you never really see them in Florida. And I was like, I just want a red bird, just give me some kind of sign of hope. And I started seeing them when I'd go for walks. And anytime since then, when I've had a really, really hard day or week or month or year, honestly, they just appear when I need them the most. And it's kind of that reminder that I'm not alone in it and that I can get through it. So for me, also having something like that and having that connection to my angels really has helped save my life so many times.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something that, it seems so simple on the outside, but when you have that special communication sign, it really, it can change your whole day around, or it can change your whole week around. The timing of it is just, it can be so beautiful.
Absolutely. And in addition to that, what are some other tools or coping skills or healing practices that have really helped you along the way?
So EMDR is huge for me, and also meditation. I've always loved meditation. I've always been the type of person that could just lie down and just really get into meditation. But one of the most powerful healing modalities for me also is breath work. There's something about breath work sessions that just really opens everything for me and helps to, transmute trauma and have like beautiful, open-hearted experiences and breakthroughs and insights. Another thing that I like to do is journal. I journal every day, like the morning pages practice from The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. Like that's something that I've just taken to heart, and I feel like it helps not only with processing stuff that's going on, but it helps to unblock my creativity. And so stepping into my creative practice is really healing. Like for whatever reason, creating, there's a sense of agency within my creativity that is healing in itself, because trauma is when you don't have agency and things aren't your choice. And so creativity is all about choice. It's all about getting to do exactly what you want the way you want it to it. So for me, journaling is kind of like what keeps that stream, that channel open, to where my creativity might look like, making social media content, or it might look like finger painting, but both of those are really healing for me.
I love all of those coping tools. And I really loved the creativity, because that's something that I also resonate with. Meditation, I can't calm my mind enough to get there. I've tried so many times, and I know I need to keep working at it, because when I was in a better place and able to meditate, it was a game changer for me. But then I switched to breath work, because people say it's a gateway to meditation. Game changer. Love it. But creativity, being able to just have complete control of what I color or what I post or what I write, what I say, what I do, has been so freeing, because there's so many times in my life where I felt like I just didn't have control. I didn't have control of the situation around me, of how people were treating me. I felt like I couldn't even control my reactions to how people were treating me in those moments, because I felt lost and hopeless and just completely done. So to find an outlet where I found some kind of control of expression was game changer. I said game changer 10 times, but all of it is game changer. So for you, what was it like finding those tools? Was it something kind of second nature that you just figured out and knew what to do, or did it take trial and error?
I would say it definitely did take trial and error, because, even with finding a therapist that I felt aligned with, like sometimes that takes a while. Sometimes you connect with a therapist and it's like, okay, or maybe it's not okay, it's not a good fit. And then, be having the wherewithal to then make a change and find somebody new, or find like a new therapy model that like actually works for you in your situation. Like that definitely took some doing. So I would say that that would be the part that was like the most trial and error. Like for me, things like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, like didn't really work, because it was all like mindset work. Whereas trauma, is a full body experience, and, it's like a very somatic process to heal trauma. Like it's within the body, it's within your nervous system. And so you can't like think it away. So a lot of the CBT practices like didn't really work for my situation, but I know that they're incredibly valuable for other people's situations. So it all depends on like where you're coming from. So that's one thing that I noticed.
Yes, it's so important with therapy to remember that not every therapist is going to be the right fit, and not every modality is going to be the right fit. And I wish that's something that I knew when I was younger and I was going through it, because after trying like 3 therapists, I was like, can't do this. Like, it's not going to work. Like, therapy doesn't work for me. I'm like broken. I can't be fixed. Like, I'm just created that whole mindset that I was the problem, when I just hadn't found the right person with the right modality that created the right relationship to be able to start healing.
Definitely. And, even being in a program now where I'm, training with other people and we're all like going through the same program, there's a wide variety of different people that are in my program that have kind of like different backgrounds, different positionality. They have different like mindset and outlook when it comes to the therapeutic process and like what therapy is for. And so even, a group of therapists that went to the same school, they were in the same cohort, they have the same, program the whole way through, they're all going to offer something that's so different. And, you want to find somebody that is like really aligned with you, because I feel like if you can't create that safety with somebody, like healing is not going to happen. Like healing happens between people that feel safe together. You know what I mean? Like you need to be able to have that co-regulation, and for somebody to just hold space for you, like I feel like that is the most healing thing, right? Like just somebody that can, where you feel safe enough to show, okay, here are my wounded places, and then just seeing you and like holding you with that unconditional positive regard, like that in itself feels like, oh my God, I can take all of this weight off my shoulders. Like I'm seen, I know I'm lovable, and I am good enough, right? And you can't create that if you don't have that bond.
Yes, there is nothing like that moment when you finally like feel comfortable enough to open up to someone and they just validate and listen. And for the first time, it doesn't feel like maybe it was all in your head or that you're being dramatic or that you're just looking for attention or whatever other narratives that have been thrown at you. It's for the first time, it's like, wow, I don't have to feel this way. I don't deserve to feel this way. I didn't deserve what happened to me. And someone cares and I can get through this. It's like that massive mindset shift in that moment when suddenly you have a space where you're ready to be seen the way you deserve to be.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just feel so passionate about creating that space for other people. I'm like, that's what I feel like I was put on this earth to do, is create these little sanctuaries where people can just come and just take all of that baggage off and just feel like it's okay to be soft in that moment, even if then you have to put the armor back on later and like deal with, difficulties and difficult people in your life. It's like you just have this moment to just de-armor and just be soft. Like, okay, that's what I'm here to do, at least for now.
I love that because it's so easy to put your walls up, to put that armor on, and to feel like you have to protect yourself at all times, even when it's a therapist in front of you or a coach or a healer, just anyone who is there to support you, to listen, to help you. It's so easy to still have all those walls up because if the relationships that we were taught and have been part of our whole lives have convinced us that we need to, it's so difficult to get to that point where you can find that trust and find that space. So to see you wanting to make that space happen, I have no doubt you're going to do that and help so many people. People need a safe space to just heal.
Thank you for reflecting that back to me.
Of course. So let's talk about creating that safe space for healing. So for you, what does that safe space really look like?
So, number one, it has to be, trauma informed, trauma sensitive, which, part of that is just realizing that even if you have the best intentions for a space to be safe, the only person that can really determine if that space truly is safe is the client, or is the person that's coming in for, the service or for this connection. So, you can do everything you can to make it safe from your perspective, but you might have like a blind spot or bias where, there's something that didn't feel safe for the other person. So I think just being open to listening and to change into conversation and co-creating, right? Like not like I'm going to create this perfect space and then you come into it and then I do healing to you, but it's a collaborative experience. It's like this alchemy that can only hope happen if both people are kind of participating. So I like to see it as like passing a ball back and forth and just like, always kind of learning from what the other person is reflecting back to you and being willing to adjust from there. So there's not like one routine or like one particular, formula of like, okay, if we do this, like that's where healing happens. But always being willing to be in that, that back and forth, that teaching and learning at the same time, like, not in a sense of like authority figure, like I'm the healer, I'm the teacher, you're learning, but like let's collaborate and work together and find that resonance together.
I really appreciate a collaborative space because it's so easy, like you said, to feel like it's someone's authority and they're supposed to tell you what to do. And sometimes when we see someone as authority, it can be a lot more difficult to open up and to be vulnerable because we might have an assumption of how we're supposed to behave based on how we're raised and the different backgrounds that we have. So to make sure that it is a collaborative relationship where both parties feel safe to explore how to create that safety, create that bond that's respectable, appropriate within the bond of what therapy should look like, and that offers a space for vulnerability so that we can begin to heal, begin to grow, begin to soften that relationship with ourselves, learn to love ourselves again. It's so important.
Yeah, exactly. The other piece that I would want to share when it comes to creating a safe space together is that coming from a space of humility as well and not having all the answers, that to me feels really powerful. And for me, it feels really safe when I'm, in a space with somebody and they're not coming from that authority place of, they know more than me. But if somebody trusts my lived experience and somebody is, open to hearing from me and learning from me, that definitely feels like a safe space. I definitely try to create that as well. Like there's no one size fits all. Like every single session that I do with people looks completely different. Like they might have, a similar flow, or I might have my values and my ethics the same. But other than that, like every relationship is so unique.
And as it should be, because every session, every person, every single piece is different. And that's what's so amazing about being human, is that we all have unique experiences and unique perspectives, different ways to go about healing, showing up for ourselves, loving ourselves, being authentic, being vulnerable. It's different for every single person. And it's messy and complicated and definitely can be frustrating when you're trying to figure out what the best route to do. But taking it from a comprehensive, holistic point of view when you're seeing the person as a person is so, so important. Knowing that symptoms may present themselves differently, and that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That doesn't mean it has to be a specific disorder. And that a certain treatment that may work for someone else may be very different for this person, even with the same diagnosis and seemingly same backgrounds. It's going to be different, and that's okay. As long as we're looking at the person, we can offer them some kind of safety and security and love and a space that needs it for vulnerability to truly take place so that people can begin a journey of wanting to heal.
Yeah, and that's why I love social work so much, because I really feel like, at least in recent years, there has been that kind of shift, that movement, that awareness of like, we have to treat people as like full humans. We can't just look at one part of them. Like we can't discount their culture. We can't discount their spiritual beliefs. Like all of that is going to have such a huge impact on their outcomes and their well-being and everything. And also like to see not just a person as a person, but like a person as a part of their community, and like an environment, and how your whole environment shapes you and how you shape your environment. So always so much more complex than what you can put into, a list of symptoms or something. Like it's always going to be a much longer story than that. And so that means that you have to slow down, right? We can't just like jump to conclusions and, sort of write people off. We can't have like 15-minute little meetings. Like we have to have like more time. Like time has to stretch in order to get to know somebody.
Yes, yes. It's so, oh, I am just beyond excited for you to continue your work, and because you're going to help so many people, because I don't want to say it never happens or that's like super, super rare, but a lot of times it is very common that we don't look at the whole person because it's difficult to. I mean, come on, it's really difficult to understand all the different aspects of someone's life and how they fit into it, how other people fit into their lives. That's not an easy task, on top of understanding all the different cultural impacts and influences, understanding the toxins in the environment and what they're being exposed to. I mean, there's so many pieces. It's not an easy thing to do. So a lot of people just don't necessarily focus on what's not the easiest route. That doesn't maybe seem like it's going to give the quickest results. And it takes time, like you said, it takes time, space to be able to get someone the support that they need.
Exactly. I mean, it requires reshaping the way that the systems currently are, right? Like when you go to your primary care physician or you go to the doctor, you get like a 10-minute window with them, right? And that's not enough time, but that doctor probably has like all of their 10-minute windows of the day booked up. So like all the time that they have for you. But in order for, to really get to know somebody's unique situation and for healing to take place, like you need to have more time, right? That's why things like motivational interviewing are so cool, where, you ask open-ended questions, you pause, you wait, you see if there's more to the story. Like I feel like most doctor's appointments, like the really like important stuff comes out at the very end, and then if they're on their way out of the room and like something is shared, like that's okay, that's actually what is important to know. So taking more time with patients would require shifting the way the whole system works and examining like why do we have this culture of like instant like gratification, like fast food, everything is just so hurried. And that means that we would have to look at capitalism and how that just requires us to be like on hyper mode, like productivity mode, like all day long, as much as you can. When that's exactly what often causes the disharmony in our lives, right? Like if we had more time to just unwind and slow down, our nervous systems might be in a place where we could heal from things a lot faster.
Yes, oh, you are speaking my language. First of all, I would love to throw out there that if programs weren't so expensive, it would be a lot easier to have time to have so many to have not have to take 10,000 patients and time to be able to pay back student loans. Throwing that out there because that's so important. In other words, I got my semester email telling me how much my monthly payment's going to be when I graduate. And I'm like, and it's still going.
Oh my God.
I hate that email. Got this morning. So love that conversation. But also, it is so important that we shift the way we're looking at it. And like you said, those open-ended questions. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, when I would go to the doctor and they do like that mental health assessment, it's like, are you depressed? Check yes or no. Are you anxious? Check yes or no. Are you having thoughts of suicide? Check yes or no. It's like these questions. And I mean, most people are more likely to just say no to avoid that conversation because it's scary. Like it is a very scary conversation if you've never been exposed to mental health or if you think that's what you're supposed to say, right? A lot of times, or you don't know what's going to happen if you say yes because there is no conversation on what saying yes or no means in the beginning. So at least that was my experience with it. So I would lie through my teeth on those assessments for years saying, no, I'm fine, until I ended up in a psych ward because there was never an open-ended question. It was not, how has your mood been lately? Have you experienced, or what are some experiences of ups and downs you've had lately? What are some of your highs and lows? Formulating it into a conversation where it's okay instead of like using the name of a diagnosis and being like, are you depressed? Yes or no?
Yeah, I love that so much. And, a couple things there, like, yeah, there should be more of a informed consent piece where, you know, not only do you ask the questions in a more sensitive way, but the patient should be informed, like, if you do check yes to this question, like, I'm a mandated reporter and I'm not, I'm gonna have to, like, address this right now, and then you might be incarcerated, right? So, like, that's something that, like, needs to happen. That conversation of, like, if you say, that you have thought about harming yourself or others, like, that's gonna have consequences, right? But just from my own experience, when I was pregnant with my daughter, every time we would go have our, like, prenatal checkups, it would just be, me going to these appointments. And there was always this, like, question on that the providers would have to ask, I think legally in Colorado, which is where I was at the time. And the question was, do you feel safe at home? And, like, I didn't feel safe at home, but it felt less safe, to be honest. Like, that was scarier to me. So there has to be, systems in place to catch the people that, like, don't feel safe at home, or that, are struggling with their mental health. Like, there need to be more options for people that don't feel safe. Like, it didn't feel safe to say, yes, I don't feel safe at home, because, like, what was going to happen,
Yeah, personally for me, I wish that they would give resources, like a list of resources, because maybe you're not in the space where you can talk about it, or you don't know what's going to happen if you talk about, but what if you went home with resources just in case? What if there was a list of resources if you are experiencing symptoms related to depression, if you are having thoughts of harming yourself, if you are in an unsafe position at home, these are places you can go, these are things you can do, these are numbers you can call. All these different pieces to give someone something tangible to take away, instead of, it's like putting someone on the spot in immense pressure and not knowing what the consequence is going to be, right? You don't know what the consequence is going to be if you're honest. And it's terrifying. I know when I was younger, one thing my mom said to me the first time I got that mental health assessment was, if you say yes, they're going to take you away from me. And, like, I know that was a stigma talking, and, like, she didn't mean it in, like, a harmful way. Like, totally get that. However, growing up, my brain became, if you ever admit it, you're going to get locked up and get locked away. Just admitting that you're struggling. So I didn't want to. But if back then someone had handed me a resource on, like, this is a normal thing that people go through feeling this way, here's what you can do, or this is not a normal experience. You don't have to be in this position. Here's what you can do. Here's who you can call. Here's who's going to be there for you. Giving some kind of guide instead of just this overwhelming fear of, do I answer honestly? Do I have to tell them? What happens if I tell them? Or then having to be honest with myself in that moment, because maybe I'm not even sure and I've been lying to myself this whole time.
Yeah, exactly. That's a huge piece too, because, I would read about or watch, movies where somebody was being abused, but, like, couldn't make the connection that, like, that was me as well. And I know, with stigma, around mental health as well, it's like, it might be just easier to think about mental illness as something out there versus, like, how it would feel within you, because there are so many stereotypes, and we like to other people because we don't want to be, connected to that. So just feel like more awareness raising of, like, abuse or mental illness doesn't always look like this, like, it can look like this, etc.
Yeah. Absolutely. At that point too of what you've seen, like, on TV, is so relevant, because a lot of times we see very specific cases or very extreme cases or very one-sided cases that don't necessarily show what it could be like for another person, for an everyday person. It's not always going to be like the movie production that had to add so much drama into it so that you would sit and watch it and get those box office numbers. It might not look like that. That doesn't mean this isn't serious. This doesn't mean that you don't deserve help. But when we are so used to seeing, when there's not a lot of conversation happening or not a lot of access to conversations happening, because a lot of people just don't know conversations are happening or how to find them. Don't want to say they're not happening, but are they happening on a big enough platform that people are constantly exposed to the productive conversations is something that I believe we really need to continue to work on and grow. But when we're not accessing these conversations and knowing that it can look different, the media, TV, movies, social media, news, all of it really influences what we think it looks like, thus how we may react or respond.
Yeah, I feel like one of the huge, misconceptions about DV, for instance, that we see in the media is that it's always violent or like it's always bad. But in reality, what keeps people, trapped in abusive relationships is that the cycle of abuse goes in a really specific order. Like you have, yes, the big incidents, like the blowing up, the violence, but then you have a honeymoon phase, which is when the abuser draws you back in and keeps you from leaving, promising to change, apologizing. And then you have tension slowly starting to build under the surface where you're walking on eggshells, but like in your mind, you're just in self-preservation mode of like, oh, I better not do anything wrong because I don't want that to happen again. And then back to the incident. So it's not like you're going to be in this like, life or death moment every single day, but the whole time you're experiencing abuse. But I didn't really clock that based on, the movies that I've seen or the books that I read, because they, like you said, they just point out like the most extreme moments and don't often show how you can just get completely used to living like that, right? Like a hostage situation where you just become, accustomed to being in that state like all the time.
Yes, isn't it so funny that we often turn it into, well, if I don't do this, if I just do this good enough, if I just do this, if I don't mess up on this, if I have dinner on the table at this time, if I have this done, all these little things, then I'll be okay. And it's like, if I do this, then they won't respond that way. It's my fault, and internalizing it. It's so funny that is, at least for me, I can say it for me, like that's the response that I've created is if I'm not perfect according to their measurement and standards, it's my fault that I'm going to get hurt instead of no one, like, doesn't matter what you do, no one deserves to get hurt.
Like, and that includes me, right? Including myself in my circle of compassion. Like I would have so much empathy for this person that was hurting me, because I feel like, when you are a sensitive person, when you have a big heart, like you just see the good in people and you want to believe in that like potential for healing so badly. And like me coming from, this background of like literally for a living helping people heal, it's like, oh, there's this person that's like really broken, and they have these faults and they hurt me. But if only I could, if only I could make them better, or if only they change, you just hang on to this with this false sense of hope. So, relearning like I'm just as worthy of my compassion as anybody else. Like that, especially if you are in a helping profession or a healing profession, like you have to take care of yourself. You can't put yourself last, or you will end up burnt out, etc. So definitely put that like at the top of my values, like compassion, yes, for everybody else, but also for myself. Like I have to keep in that first.
Yes, self-compassion is so important. And I don't know what it is that has made it so like taboo in a way to like love yourself and care for yourself and show up for yourself, that we constantly, or that there's this pressure to show up for everyone else first and not giving yourself that same love, just giving yourself that same space that you deserve. For me, it was like, I just need them to love me. I just want them to love me. I want them to love me, and never, I want to love myself. I deserve to feel loved, and love can come from me. It doesn't have to come from people who are hurting me.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like a lot of those beliefs come to us when we're very young and we're experiencing, distress or trauma. We learn that we're not good enough, or, we're defective, we're bad, we're not lovable in some way, or it's hard to love. And then those beliefs just stick with you under the surface throughout your entire life. And then that's how you show up in situations, right? So that's why I love things like EMDR, where you really go back to those core beliefs that you learned from your trauma, and you look at that and you say, like, okay, looking back at my baby self, of course I was good enough. Of course I was lovable. Of course I was, there's nothing wrong with me and I'm not broken and all of that. And then it's like dominoes falling. It's like, okay, so I've always been lovable. Oh my God. Like I've been acting like I'm not lovable this whole time. And of course I'm deserving of my own love. But there's just so much cultural messaging, like you said, around, helping other people.
Yes. Oh, changing that narrative where it first happened, that core wound, that core belief that made you believe that you weren't good enough. Like you said, that you weren't worthy, that love should feel this way, that life should feel this way, that the relationship you have with someone else or yourself should be this way, when it's actually very harmful and it's not productive, it's not supportive, it's not the way it's supposed to look. To go back to that moment and be able to heal that has got to be, I hope to get there one day, that has got to be one of the most amazing moments in your journey.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like it was really like the veil being pulled back and me being like, wait, so this whole time, like my whole life, I've been operating with a false belief and it's shaped all of my behavior, and I think that comes with a lot of grief, which is why I think sometimes we are in resistance to healing, because if you realize that you are good enough and that you are lovable and you always have been, you kind of have to grieve for all the things that you missed out on, or all the ways that were treated when you didn't know that about yourself. So that's kind of where I am in my healing process right now, because I feel like our healing process is never complete, right? There's always like artichoke leaves, there's more layers to peel back. But I'm really working with that grief right now of like, wow, if only I had known what I know now, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, wow, like I've just missed out on so much because I didn't know that then. So I'm just really feeling all of that grief. And I feel like it takes a lot of nervous system space and capacity to feel grief. And it's easier to not feel it. And so we like to stay up here, but like really kind of going into that place. It's definitely painful, but like so good at the same time, like just to let myself feel that. And to process it, and then to make space, because then once that grief is processed, there's so much space for joy.
Yes, wait, that is so important, because like it's okay to grieve what you should have had. It's okay to grieve what you missed, what you never got to receive. It's okay to grieve it. It doesn't mean that you're just living in the past. It means that that's something very real that's hurt you. That grieving will allow you to be able to continue your healing process, continue your journey, continue to grow, instead of pushing it under the surface like we've kind of been doing this whole time, allowing yourself that space to say, it's okay to grieve. It's okay to recognize that you missed out on stuff and that it wasn't your fault, and that you are hopefully going to get those experiences that you've always deserved.
Yeah, and I feel like all of those emotions are teachers in a way. Like they all have so much to give. And, for me, grief was scarier than anger. Like it was a lot easier for me to just be in like this angry place about everything that's happened to me. But like the anger was covering up the grief. And once I it's like a gift box, once I like opened the box of the anger and saw what was inside of it, it was this grief. And it was like, wow, okay, so this is a lot, but like I'm ready to integrate this. I'm ready to feel this. And then I feel like within the box of grief is love, right? It's like all of this like love at the same time. So I feel like, it can be scary to open up the boxes of our feelings and see what's really inside of them. But there's always something more important. There's always something more powerful, more vital that's waiting. But it's like a timing thing too. It's not like you have to rush to like get to the bottom of your healing. Like I feel like it has to go at a safe pace. And I guess that's the other part about creating a safe space, is that you don't want to like shock people's nervous system, because then they'll just go into like, the trauma response. So I think it's like important to honor the natural pace that we want to heal, and to know that like it's okay if it takes time. Like you don't have to hurry the whole healing process. It's okay to go at healing medicinally slow pace.
Yes, at your own pace, whatever that pace looks like for you and makes sense for you, because the pace that you go and the pace that I go may be completely different, and that may be even completely different from someone else. And that's all okay. It's all valid. It's all normal. If someone's pace seems a little faster than yours, that doesn't mean you're not healing fast enough and doing enough and not putting in enough work, or that something's wrong with you. It just means your journey is different, and every journey is valid and beautiful and amazing. Hope you've been absolutely amazing today. Before we wrap up, is there one piece of advice that you could offer someone who maybe wants to start their own journey of healing?
What I would say to somebody that's starting their healing journey or thinking about it is that, it's okay to honor that it is scary to start your healing journey, because we can become very comfortable with what is familiar. And what we don't know is what's on the other side of the door. We don't know what's on the other side of the rainbow, right? And so it takes a lot of trust, a lot of courage, and a lot of openness to say yes, to open that door and to start that journey takes so much bravery. So it's not about the pace, and it's not about, getting it all done and gritting your teeth, but just that sense of trust, the openness to change, and allowing that to be like, yes, this is me stepping into my most courageous self, even if it's something really small. And the other piece I wanted to offer is that, healing is just not a linear experience. It's not a line with like an end goal. It is a spiral. And sometimes we come back to things that, we thought we healed, or old wounds are opened again. And that's just a part of the design. That's just the way that it is. And that's how life is. So being able to kind of go with the flow and always hold that self-compassion first. And it's okay to be, revisiting old things from the past and healing them in a new way. So yeah, sending all my love to you.
That was amazing advice. Your journey, no matter where you are in your journey, even if you're just getting ready to begin, you are so brave for being willing to show up for yourself, being willing to start, because you deserve it. And it takes time. It's different for everyone, and it's definitely not linear. Hope you are absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed having this conversation. So I'm really honored.
Thank you so much for listening to Normalize the Conversation. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. This podcast is an initiative of Inspiring My Generation, focusing on normalizing the conversation, bringing education and awareness to the forefront, and amplifying global voices to spark change and hope. Inspiring My Generation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization on a mission towards suicide prevention through awareness, conversation, education, and support. Connect with us on Instagram at Inspiring My Generation, and visit our website inspiringmygeneration.org to learn more about our work and how you can make a difference.